All right, what is up, folks? Welcome back to another episode of Make Fitness Make Sense. I am here as your host. If you don't recognize the voice, it's your first time listening, so thanks. I appreciate you being here. I'm host Coach J.K. McLeod, and I am here finally with my first guest on Make Fitness Make Sense, Coach Betsy Foster. Betsy, how are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really honored to be here and honored to be a part of this new podcast.
Yeah, I am so stoked to have you on. For those who are kind of familiar with the voice and like, wait, I feel like I've heard her before, especially I've heard these two talk to each other before, then you're probably an OG listener of the Help Me Understand podcast. And Make Fitness Make Sense really is an offshoot or a branch away from Help Me Understand so that I can just continue to go down the road of specific fitness focused conversations. And the intention is exactly what the title says, to try and make fitness make sense for people. And I specifically have Betsy on, and I reached out to her to be my very first guest for a very specific reason, because she does an absolutely fantastic job of clearing a lot of the noise that I believe is out there in the fitness space. So we'll get into some of what I'm talking about with that in just a little bit here. But first, Betsy, let me leave some space for you to introduce yourself for those who may not be familiar with you, or in the words of Jay-Z, allow you to reintroduce yourself to folks that are listening who may not be familiar with you.
Thank you. Yes, I'm Betsy Foster. I am a certified strength and conditioning specialist. I hold my master's in human performance from the University of Florida, and that's like the education side. But let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am originally a performer. I spent my life dancing, loved movement, but was not necessarily interested in that lifestyle going forward, and kind of was always sort of looking for the way in which movement would play a role in my career. I discovered personal training. I had zero experience. My undergraduate degree is not in exercise science. I ordered the certification online, studied, took the test, and like just passed. And it was like, oh, now I'm supposed to do this as a job. I was living in New York at the time, and I applied to work at an Equinox. And the incredible thing about Equinox, for its great things and its maybe not so great things, one of the greatest things about an Equinox is they have like a very robust education program. And so I was like working and learning at the same time, which made this a sustainable option for me. So I spent a lot of time in the other thing is, this is 15 years ago. So I've been a full-time personal trainer for 15 years, which is a lot longer than the average length of a personal trainer career, especially one who started in a commercial gym setting.
I don't know that a lot of people realize that, by the way.
Yeah, I think I am kind of shocked. I had once heard, and I don't know if it's true now, but like that the average length of a personal training career is 18 months.
Whoa.
And yeah.
Okay.
And I think due in part, a lot of people are doing it as the job to the next job. A lot of people studying for physical therapy school or medical school or something, but I stayed there. I have just loved helping people always, even in the study of movement. The thing that was the thrill for me was how do we make this work in your real life? And how do I relate to you human to human to better understand putting these strategies into practice? Like, I love that stuff. I love when people move well. I love when people get strong. I really love how we figure out how it kind of intertwines in our life. But went back to school because I loved it so much. And then stayed down here in Gainesville, Florida, was a personal trainer in a commercial gym setting down here. And I would say that one of my biggest transitions personally was when I gave birth to my daughter. I have two beautiful, amazing daughters. 8 years ago, my first daughter was born, and I though having worked as a personal trainer already for 8 years, I was really broken after that birth, both physically and emotionally and psychologically. Had a real moment of like, what is my identity after this? And
Mm.
why do I feel so weak? And a lot of it was because I spent a lot of time training my clients and not a lot of time training myself. And I took that as an opportunity to like focus on getting strong, discovered my strength in that, and really switched to a more, I call it like an athletic bodybuilding style training, because I don't prescribe entirely to like the
You just don't want
bodybuilding
to say
purists.
functional.
Yeah, but I can't say functional, so I got to give you something in there.
That's fair.
Um,
That's fair.
and in discovering that strength for myself, I feel like I just like amped up my abilities as a trainer, and took everything online during COVID. And it's been a delight helping women build big, beautiful muscles. I am obsessed with hypertrophy and all
Mm.
that it offers in terms of like improved quality of life, improved confidence, strength, all of the things that come along with a muscular body.
That is awesome. Okay. And you mentioned, so you mentioned you have 2 daughters. So you're married with
Yes.
2 kids. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure I throw that
Yeah.
in there.
I should give my
And
husband, I mean, my husband also helps with our beautiful bodies.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And a reason that I throw that in there in this conversation is because I'm a believer in, as people are listening to conversations like this, I think that more and more and more understanding as much as you can in a snippet like this, and even a 30 to 50, even, like the longer style podcast, it's still a snippet because there's 24 hours in a day, and then you multiply that by however many days the person has been around. I think being able to get an understanding of some of the person's background and their scenarios that they've been in, situations that they've been in, things that they've experienced, and also things that they're currently experiencing. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know a human alive where those things don't play into how, especially in the coaching space, they work with and direct other people. So that's why I spend a little bit of time just making sure that we leave space for that. I'm also going to mention that Betsy is one of the few fitness folks who I do listen to their podcast regularly. So she's the host of Your Strongest Body. Is it 2 episodes a week now? Tuesday,
Yeah,
Friday, right?
it's 2 episodes.
Okay. So 2 episodes per week. So let's actually start. Let's start with that a little bit. Your podcast is called Your Strongest Body. Where did that come from? What's the origin story of that title?
Yeah. So I was, for the longest time, I had a podcast that was for other coaches.
Yep.
It was called Coaches Chat. Some days I'm like, oh, I want to bring it back because I love talking about training with other coaches. But I
Yeah.
realized that the topics that I was covering in that podcast sometimes didn't feel like they would directly apply to the client.
Okay.
And so I wanted to have something that was more for people who are looking to train, who are looking to reach their physique goals. And I like the personalization of like building what your strongest body is. To me, the magic of personalized programming and personalized coaching and focused this kind of like really individual support is that it can be tailored exactly to you. And so I'm giving you all the tools for your strongest body, and you're choosing how you use that, because every single person is different. Just like you said, I mean, we are all coming in to our goals, into the gym, into every atmosphere that we interact in, with our whole backstory and with our whole what was happening today, the hour before we came in. And how do we take this like pretty simple fitness information, but apply it in a way that's going to like weave in seamlessly or at least as easily for us as we can.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. Um, Speaking of being able to navigate these fitness streets at this point,
Mhm.
uh, as someone yourself who's been in the industry professionally for, you said 15 years now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I, I have this underlying belief that, you know how, when we talk about like ancient history, it's like AD and BC.
Mhm.
Now it's almost like anything that happened before 2020, it's all been like pre-COVID or post-COVID. Like,
Yeah,
I
it's
swear,
true. It's really
especially as
true.
somebody like myself who's about to turn 48. Am I about? Yeah, about to turn 48.
Wow.
Uh, it's like all of a sudden everything from like 78 until 2020 apparently doesn't matter because I can't, like, I'm trying to remember like 2009. It's just like,
It's
well,
all a
what
blur.
was
I
going on?
know.
Yeah, for real. Cause it felt like such a breaking point, literally, but it felt like just such a pivotal thing that it was like
Yeah.
pre and post. And before that, it was pre and post 9/11. So it's
Mhm.
just like, man. So
Right.
what I'm getting to is you have had the opportunity to see a lot of the ebb and flow and morphing of different things within the fitness industry. So, as someone who is really focused, and I feel very comfortable co-signing, like, yeah, you're the real deal. That is like what you're all about, is helping people build their strongest body. Have you also noticed just over the years more and more and more just external influence on how women should be viewing themselves and what their goals are? Like, I'd I'd be interested in getting your feedback on my personal opinion, that you are more than welcome to be like, bro, you're just another bro who's off base. That a good amount of the work that coaches who really want to help someone not only build and maintain their strongest body, a good amount of the work that needs to be done is helping sift through the continual like frequency of external noise around, like, you should look like this, you should walk like this, you should talk like this, you should be able to help me understand, like, am I on the
Yes.
right track here, or what's going on? And, we were even talking somewhat about like different things that you see in the algorithm, and it's like, are we back to like fighting the whole like skinny is in and that's all that matters now? Like, what are you seeing? Am I off base? Am I slightly on base? Help me
No, I mean,
understand that.
I think it's so true. First of all, I think that any time, so we've seen this like surge in women coming into the gym. Absolutely incredible. There's nothing better to
Yeah.
me than I walk into the gym and I am in the weight section and they're the free weight section, and there are just sometimes more women than men. And I
Yeah.
remember being like a young gym goer myself, like in college. I would I would rip out the women's health like women's free weight circuit. I would fold it up. I'd put it in my
Hmm.
like gym shorts. I would go and then I would find the bench in the corner, open it up, and like try to do it while nobody saw me because I didn't know if I was doing it right. And
Okay.
the room was just like full of men. And the whole if it's wild to me to imagine young Betsy that way, then imagine the level of like kind of ease and autonomy and confidence I have in the gym, and also the just total different makeup of the gym setting. And so I think somewhere along the way, as women began to like find ownership in the gym, somebody in capitalist America went, oh, I can make some money off of like
Oh, for
this
sure.
new interest.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so the algorithm starts to show like also we've learned that maybe women are searching for like, what am I doing as I approach menopause, or what am I doing as I see the bone density numbers change. They're searching for these things. When they're searching for them, somebody is able to kind of slide in with a product and or a service or must follow advice. And so I believe that that noise has kind of increased because there is an opportunity to
Mm.
sell something. Now, I don't always think it's a bad thing, because in some ways I feel like women are being seen more sometimes. Like they're being told, "Oh, I realize that like you are experiencing this change of life. Here's, you feel seen, you feel heard, and yet it still feels very predatory." And I think so many of the things that we get from the, fitness noise, especially scrolling our algorithms, is pretty predatory, is pretty, uh, if not predatory, it's at least clickbaity and I don't know, incendiary, so that it gets the clicks. And so then you
Yeah.
have clients coming in who are confused about the information. If I skip breakfast, I will gain 20 pounds. If I eat breakfast, I will have to, I'm not metabolizing this very well. If I lift over this amount, there's just like so much kind of competing information,
Yeah.
as well as the like endless list of supplements and things. And so as it also kind of collides with beauty standards and what is in. And when it comes to the gym, we kind of can't extract ourselves from like these beauty standards and trends. So where do we find the line with feeling our most confident self, but like kind of saying screw it,
Yeah.
and building a body that's for both like aesthetics and for health. So I like you said, I mean, I spend a lot of time I will regularly, like once every call with a client, it's like, well, should I be doing this with electrolytes? Should I be, I saw
Mm.
that this is a new pre-workout. Is this the kind of pre-workout I should be taking? Is this the, should I be, the questions are based on what to me seems like a scroll on social media, or really a targeted ad. I feel like I am battling targeted ads a lot.
Mm. Okay. That I concur. I very, I very, I very much concur. Like it's for myself. It's actually to the point we were talking before we hit record. I'm actually to the point where I've frozen my one-on-one roster so that I
Mm-hmm.
can really, the folks that I do have, just continue to do a better job with clearing through those things as they
Yeah.
tend to pop up, and
Mm-hmm.
then really point a lot more of my content, like this podcast, my Instagram content, YouTube, and then going into other channels, addressing like, hey, here's what you might see, here's what you might see, here's what you might hear, and then bring it
Right.
back to the eat well, sleep enough, exercise regularly,
Well,
because
and you get
we're
it.
getting distracted.
Right. You get why people get distracted, because they're
Mm-hmm.
feeling like nothing that they've tried has worked. And so someone is promising the thing that works, or that the reason why you haven't had success is because of this thing. And
Yeah.
they've been sort of almost waiting for the answer as to why this has been hard before. And I and I always come back to, like, I think the hard stuff is exactly what you're talking about. The
Yeah.
very simple things.
Okay, so this begs the question from me then, where are what are some things that the person who feels like they've been doing everything, and I won't even say doing everything right, but they've
Mhm,
tried a whole lot of
mhm.
different things. So they're not new to training. They understand the importance of resistance training. So let's say maybe they do one or two more cardio style classes a week, but their primary, like they know they either have a gym at home, weights at home, or they go into the gym already. So they're already lifting. They've heard from everybody and their mother about like what they need to focus on with getting in enough water and getting in steps and different things like that. And they still feel like they're just stuck and they're not making progress. Where do you what do you start to look at first? Like where does that conversation start with someone who's doing
Yeah, I
all the
think that
things?
that's such a good question, because I really believe, like, as coaches, we have to approach, no one's coming to you and saying like, I'm doing all the things, and they're trying to lie to you. They're not,
Right. No.
there's not malintent with that. I think that oftentimes there are blind spots, though, that we have for ourselves where we are missing the little details that tell a better story. And
Mm.
and sometimes the effort or the emotional like exhaustion that comes with kind of continually making this effort clouds our own understanding of like, are we if we're doing all the things, if we're getting all the workouts in, are you telling me that it's happening 3 times a week every week, or is it happening 3 times a week every third week, and then most of the other weeks I'm getting one in and something else is falling apart?
Yeah.
And
Okay.
when you can't see that, then our like the story we're telling ourselves kind of gets in the way. And I think what a coach does is they hear that and they instead of going like just get the workout in, they're saying, okay, why is it happening on this second week that we're struggling to get this workout in? Is
Yeah.
there a way to shorten the workout on this day because you have school pickup and still get it in? I mean, there are ways in which we're looking at that person's real situation and addressing it. And so I often think that our self-perception in general, like as human beings, we aren't
Yeah.
really great at seeing maybe
Yeah.
maybe what we're really doing, how we're really presenting, our real effort. I mean, like the number of people that tell me that they're like pushing themselves in the gym, and I think I think that your perception of what you can actually do, and it's usually just that you're underestimating yourself. Like you could push yourself harder.
Hmm.
I want you to discover that. So I think it's usually like our own personal blind spots are
Okay.
where I would start.
Okay. Yeah, well made point. And I've even experienced that myself. I remember when I was working with a coach and we did he had a really good idea that for me, and he was like, listen, it's not a form check. It's like it's an intensity check.
Mm,
And I'm just going to let you know based on what it looks like on these last few reps, because he was very specific where he said, I don't, if it's a set of 10, you got enough. He's like, we got enough room on your phone. Give me all 10 reps. And I want to
yeah.
see everything from like the time you pick it up to the time that you put the weight down and see that whole thing. He's like, see right here, like you definitely could have squeezed out more because you just very gently, laid the weights down and blah, blah,
Hmm.
blah. It's like, so that intensity check, I think
Yeah.
even for someone like myself, who I'm definitely not new to training, having that other set of eyes to, as
Yeah.
you said, like be able to address some of those blind spots that are unintentional.
Right.
You just don't even realize it.
And sometimes we have to offload it because like it's going to be easier for someone else to see the patterns than it is
Mm,
for us. We're so used to what has worked for us and what the path of least resistance is for us that sometimes we just can't see like what we would need to change, and somebody else on the outside can spot them easier because they're not in the day to day with you.
yeah. And I, I will, one other thing that I'll add before we move on there. So we're recording this on Tuesday, the 21st. This will come out next Tuesday. So what's fresh in my head, speaking of recency bias and reporting things, what's fresh in my head is the episode that will go out today. I had just talked about how just a coach's eye just tends to be really different because we're looking at things through the lens of a coach, and that being different than someone who may label themselves as more of a fitness influencer who's just
Mm,
out to
mhm.
help people and then has some links and things like that, which is fine. It's just the difference is the coach feels that sense of responsibility and almost like to a fault a little bit of an emotional connection to
Yeah.
how those things turn out. So I mentioned that just to say that um I think that there's a difference with someone trying to get a really good understanding of like, hey, what is actually happening here so that it can be improved and in a positive way that then benefits you throughout other aspects, not just your training, more
Mhm.
importantly, your life, versus trying to, for lack of a better way to put it, point out all the things that you're doing wrong as a way to build that person up, like build the coach up, is like, I'm the expert in the room. There's a difference there. And for some people, they may feel like it's kind of subtle. It's kind of hard to spot
Mhm.
sometimes. But it's just something that I also wanted to throw out there, because one of the things that I did want to make sure that we worked into the conversation, at least at some point, was the difference with actually working with a coach.
Yeah,
So I
that's such
think
a good point.
that's a big one too. Somewhat related to working with a coach. Talk to me a bit about the person that comes to you. Let me take a side note. The reason that I'm bringing these things to Betsy is so that Betsy is being able to provide her perspective and her opinion, and her approach. So this is not intended to be like, let's talk about these people and these people. We're two coaches who are going to be fairly open with like trying to help people like really make sense of common scenarios that we see that I don't think are really talked about all that often.
Mhm.
Because this is not going to, generally, this is not going to make for like the world's sexiest content here.
It's
But
true.
these are the conversations that happen, people. Like that's the thing. They have the like the secrets that the fitness industry doesn't want you to know. Well, these
Uh-huh.
are actually the things that they don't want you to know, because this is the stuff that actually changes you.
'Cause
Sorry,
it's like,
but
"Oh,
it is.
it's just that?" Yeah.
Yeah. So the person that says like, "Hey, um, I feel like I can pretty much get a pretty solid training plan from, say, like a Chat GPT. Like all I've got to do is plug in, these are my goals. These are the weights that I have access to. These are how many days per week I want to work out. And then I just go execute that." Let me ask you, actually, I'm going to ask it a different way. Who's the type of person from your perspective who, yeah, that's all you're going to need. You just grab that, put that in, and you're probably good. You're probably good to go. Who's that person?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm sure there's somebody out there. I really am. I'm sure there's somebody out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I think probably at the upper levels of training, when
Hmm.
you have dialed in every habit, when you have dialed in, when the question of consistency and the question of uh, being able to modulate your own intensity and the question of perfecting your warm up and your recovery is all together, then maybe all you need is the
Hmm.
workout. For most people, I believe that if that were the case, if everybody could just go put in what they needed and then it spit it out and you executed, everyone would have the
Be
physical
great.
health and physique that they have longed for their whole life. They would just
Yeah.
it would be they'd have it. In the same way that I think like you could ask the computer, the chat GPT, for your meal plan, and they could
Hmm.
give you the perfect meal plan, and I don't know who can execute it. I mean, I do think there are some people who have everything put together, um, and maybe, and I say that like those people have it together. I just think that there are probably people who have honed their systems where all they
Yeah.
need are the inputs. I think
Yeah.
for most people, we don't have the systems in place, and we try to remove in doing that, we're removing the human element, and the human element is the part that is standing in the way of, for most people, getting it done. Because it's not as if all of the things that it takes to get these workouts in don't involve our whole selves. I mean, think about what it takes to have the energy to get to the gym, to go through the mental conversation in the parking lot to get out of the car,
Hmm.
to and that happens to all of us. I mean,
Oh, the
I
parking
know
lot
you and I have
scroll.
had this conversation before, and I love the gym, and I still sit in there and need a little pep talk sometimes.
Yep.
There
Yep.
is our comfortability with the exercises, and in that same kind of conversation about the blind spots, there is no way that you're feeding into the computer what I would say is like, where have your roadblocks been? What have you tried to like use in order to overcome them, and what are the things that have not worked before? And those are all the
Mm,
kinds of things that I think a coach helps you do, and they do it within the workout programming. So I always think like a lot of my programs are actually trying to capitalize on the things that I think that you struggle with, and I can make easier with the actual programming. But then it also happens outside of the programming in how we structure all of I keep coming back to it, and I think it's something that you say a lot, these like the systems that we put in place to make all of this less effortful. We
okay.
need less resistance to get the resistance training done.
Yeah, let me I want to ask one clarifying question on that,
Mhm.
then ask you real quick about built bodies, and then I want to finish with a rapid fire hyper helpful list. So I want people to
Okay.
stick around for this. Okay. One clarifying question, and the context of this is a lot of folks, including myself, talk about systems. So I want to give a specific example for the person who, let's go back to an example that you referenced. They train 3 days per week religiously. That's what's self-reported. I train 3 days per week. Then for me, we go through like what we call an assessment period, like assessment and then awareness. So we
Mhm.
go through an assessment period. And when we go through that assessment period, as we've looked over the past 2 months, what it actually has been an average of 2 days per week.
Mhm.
And the person says, well, shoot, I didn't realize that. Like I was putting 3 on my calendar, but I didn't realize that. And now it's like, okay, well, if that's what you want to work towards, we could certainly work towards that. You'll need to put some systems in place. What's an idea that you would have with what a system would look like for someone who is looking to improve their training frequency? Because I think it's, like I said, I think it's very easy when we talk about systems, but like for that person, what's an example of like, okay, this is what a system would look like that helps me follow through on my workouts?
Yeah, that's great. Depending on the individual, we would create a system that works best for them, but we would look at the places maybe first where they had planned to do the third workout, and
Mm,
what is the thing that has stood in the way? Is it the amount of time you have that day? Is it the feeling of lack of recovery from the workout before? Is it too close to something else that you have planned? And then create a strategy around changing that obstacle, meaning, do I
okay.
need to move the day of that third workout? Do I have to build the program so that you could, in theory, do the workouts closer together because the end of the week seems to fall apart? Do I change the length of that third workout so that we can begin to check the box? And once we have kind of greased that pattern, then I can increase the length of time. So I think the system is going to be all about that individual, and probably the system is going to create a safety net for the
Mm,
thing that hasn't worked in the past. The example that comes to mind is the nutrition kind of philosophy that I teach as part of Built Bodies, is this proactive nutrition. And so when we
oh,
talk about proactive nutrition, it is about thinking through the day or week ahead, and not necessarily having to meal prep every single meal, because as a grown adult, I have discovered that that doesn't work for me, and it
yeah.
doesn't work for a lot of people. But what are the places that where we can put in instructions of like, I just make sure that I'm never too far from a protein rich snack? Do I find a place where I am meal prepping some of the items? Do I have even just a protein first strategy where I know that when I look at a menu when we have to go out to eat, I can kind of identify the kind of meal that's going to help me best stay to my goals, if not be entirely the thing I had planned on doing. So just kind of having tools in place where we are more proactive than reactive.
Okay. I really appreciate you taking the time to do that, because my 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 bias in asking that question is because I think everybody talks about, you don't need better habits, you need a better system. Like, I swear
Mm-hmm.
that could be, that's probably the AI version of James Clear talking right there.
Yeah, it's true.
So my desire, and you met that, was in that answer, being able to have somebody listen and be able to pull a couple of things out. So even what I pulled away from that was, it's about being able to be proactive, and the proactivity is not crafting the perfect plan. It's crafting what many folks would call the backup plan.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, and taking into account the fact that first there has to be some level of observation to suss out, okay, what is happening with that third one. And I literally just went through this with somebody
Yeah.
last week who has, say, like 1 week on and then 2 weeks off when it comes to travel.
Mm-hmm.
And they really want to train 4 days per week. And so what we did was we just redid the program, where it's 2 lifts and then 2 cardio days, and then they move those around where they
Yeah.
need to, because the bottleneck, or the thing that kept falling apart, was trying to execute the same workout that they would in their gym in a hotel gym, and just paralysis by analysis, where it's like, well, but they don't have dumbbells that go past this, so then do I need to do more reps or what? It's like, let's simplify. So that's perfect. Okay. Now you made reference to proactive nutrition being one of the, I'll call them, strategies that you do within the Built Bodies program. Before we do our rapid fire hyper helpful, I'm super stoked about hyper
Yeah,
helpful.
I'm too.
Can
I'm
you
a little
talk a little
nervous.
bit? No, yeah, you'd be fine. Can you talk a bit about Built Bodies? Like, what is that exactly, and what do you do in that program? Who's that for?
Yeah. Built Bodies is my small group training program for women who want to build visible muscle definition in the gym.
Mm.
I think there are a lot of training programs that help women build general strength. And what I saw maybe missing was this more leaning into really building visible muscle definition, especially past 30. There's a lot of like more bodybuilding style programs for younger women, but this is a real life strategy for that. And so it's the workouts, it is coaching calls, and it is nutrition, all to help support women build this strong and defined body. And it, I think it kind of leans on some of the tools that for the longest time in my training, people weren't using with women in general, but like women who are aging as well. It was, my experience of my imagination of women in their 40s and 50s training, what I saw versus what's happening now is very different, I think.
Interesting. Okay. So would it be fair to say that Built Bodies is the program that Betsy years ago would have loved to have
Yeah.
at her disposal?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think as plainly as I can put it. And I've always, I'm so one of my struggles is my love of nuance makes it hard for me to sometimes take a strong stance, because I
Sorry,
do
Betsy.
see the
Can't relate
shades
at
of
all.
gray.
Yeah.
It is for women who want to feel strong and look hot at ages that
Yeah.
are past 20. And so I feel like the aesthetic work combined with like smart, safe programming, so we aren't losing our mobility, athleticism, all of that.
Okay, perfect. And I will, I'll have a link to Betsy's Instagram, and then also, I believe, yeah, you can provide me with the The waiting list link.
Yeah,
Yes.
that would be
Okay,
great. Thank
cool.
you so much.
Because that kicks off August?
September.
September. Okay, gotcha.
September,
And
September 20th.
we're recording this in July. And how many times a year do you run that program?
2 times a year. So I do one in the
2
fall
times.
and one in
Okay.
the spring.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'll put that in the notes. All right, let's finish out with clearly a new segment because you're the first guest.
Nice.
So hype or helpful. I've got 4 things that I'm going to ask you to rank
Oh,
as hype or helpful. Go ahead.
okay.
Oh, go ahead.
I
Yeah,
heard
you're
it
gonna.
as I heard it as hyper helpful, and I was like, well, what
Oh,
if it's
okay.
just semi helpful? Now I got hype or helpful.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
with you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna force you to pick a side.
Okay.
So, is it hype or is it helpful? And then a quick reason why you would
Okay.
say it's hyper helpful. Okay. So first, um, focusing on getting in protein at every meal, hype or helpful?
Helpful. I love the
Okay.
distinction there with the getting it in at every meal. It didn't have a number attached, but we know that like for muscle recovery and muscle building as well as satiety, it's awesome.
Okay.
Did you want my little spiel after or no?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Knowing as much as I think I understand about you, I know that this is uncomfortable. I'm still going with it. All right. Okay. Number 2 out of 4. Number 2, getting in 10,000 steps as the goal. Hype or helpful?
Okay. I'm going to say hype because you said the 10,000.
Correct.
Because we all should be getting more steps, or most people need to be moving more in general. Steps are a good way of tracking it, I think. But we know the 10,000 is sort of an arbitrary distinction. And for some people, I just had a client who was like, I've increased my steps, but I maybe went too fast, too quick. And they're kind of experiencing like some discomfort from amping up the steps too fast. So the 10,000 is the height.
Okay. 2 more. Getting in zone 2 cardio for fat loss. I promise I don't dislike you and make
It's
it
okay.
like putting
It's okay.
you uncomfortable on purpose. This is real talk. Real talk.
I'm gonna say hype a little bit again because like I think you need cardio. I think for most people that are really sedentary, giving them the zone 2 distinction is like now they have another thing to worry about, and probably for fat loss they just need to move more.
Yeah.
And that and that we don't like that's where I stand.
Okay. Last one. Wearing a weighted vest on my walks so that I can build strength.
Okay, I'm going to put that in the hype category as well.
Okay.
And I'm going to say that if you like walking with the weighted vest, by all means, go for it. Maybe you're getting a teensy bit of bonus calorie burn because you've increased your overall weight. But as far as strength goes, we know that we build that strength with a difficult enough stimulus, and that is just not coming from the weighted vest.
Okay. Betsy, thank you for allowing me to go through.
I loved it. I'm now going to be like overthinking my answers.
I know. I know. I take responsibility
just
for
so
that.
you know.
Well, and for the folks that were just listening to that, hopefully if you didn't pick up on it, I gave a qualifier for every single category. So protein at every meal, 10K steps there, the weighted vest specifically to build strength on the walk, the zone 2 cardio for fat loss. And I'm purposeful most of the time with the things that I say. Sometimes I word vomit, but usually purposeful. And the reason that I did that is because rarely is there the opportunity for you all, the listening audience, as you are viewing different content, to be able to get any sort of specificity with who that content is for and what scenario they're specifically, the person is specifically talking about, myself included, the person who makes 3-minute reels that are not really optimized for the algorithm. You guys don't know this, but Instagram, before you, like when you hit post, if your reel is over usually a minute and a half, it will actually warn, like warn you, this likely doesn't put it this way, but this likely isn't going to do a whole lot because it's too long when something's 3 minutes. So I at least wanted to take 1 second with each of those things to provide one other kind of piece or tidbit there so that it can hopefully help people start to get an understanding of, okay, as I'm navigating specifically what Betsy talked about, like building my strongest body, learning about how capable I am, finding a plan that works for me, building a system for nutrition that works for me. The for me part, like for you part, is really, really, really important there. So take the time to work through those things. And I, again, strongly co-sign if you are interested in working with someone in a group setting who would be able to help you through that, then I definitely want to recommend Built Bodies. So anything else, Betsy, that you have that you want that I might not have given like some space for that's kind of top of mind that you want to throw out there? It doesn't even have to make sense for the conversation. This is my podcast. I can do what I want to. So
No, I
any
love
other
that.
things?
I mean, I love being a guest on here because I just so appreciate your whole ethos as it relates to coaching people, and it's so
I
clear in all the
appreciate that.
things that you do. And I think you just bring such with the hype and helpful, it really highlights that like you're going to get a lot of one-liners of like, this is the thing, this
Yeah.
is the new craze, this is, and I love the idea of taking a look at that and kind of trying to unpack how it applies to the general public, but then how do you apply it to you? And so you do such a nice job of helping people wade through everything they're getting in and finding the core of what's going to help them reach their individual goals.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Well, folks, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. I didn't do this at the beginning. However, as long as I have breath in my body, I will always take a moment to say thank you for choosing to press play on the podcast, because I know that you have plenty of other, especially fitness content that you can consume. So I promise you, I don't take it for granted. I appreciate every listen. Betsy is, what's your Instagram handle again? Why am I
At
blanking?
Foster_strength.
I can't believe I blanked on that.
That's okay.
So that'll be in the show notes. If you have additional follow-ups, comments, questions, concerns, anything like that, my information will also be in the show notes, along with Betsy's info on how to get on the wait list for Built Bodies, where she also mentioned that you'll have access to coaching calls. So that's pretty rare, especially in a group setting, that you would be able to have calls where you can get more understanding and explanation of how to execute these things. So thank you again, folks, for tuning in. I appreciate it, and I'll talk to you next time.
Thank you.